Hey, Las Vegas, thank you for joining us here on Vegas Realty Check, your local Las Vegas real estate news show. I'm Trish Williams.
And I'm Tiana Carroll. And this week we have a guest with us, Mr. Mark Lister, who is here with, he does property management, and that's what our show today is going to be, rent versus buy. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into some numbers, Mark.
Well, I'm a residential property manager, and I've been practicing for 23 years. It was 3 years, almost 3 years with Keller Williams, and now I'm on my own with Nevada Superior Properties.
All right. That's wonderful. And congratulations on the move and going on your own. That's pretty amazing too. And Mark, you've always been, I've always heard great feedback from anybody I've ever recommended you to for property management. So I'm very happy to have you here on this show. Let's get started with these our sales numbers.
We get to do double numbers today because today we are, since we are doing the rent versus buy, we're going to touch on rental numbers as well. Yep. So in our single family homes, we saw a decrease this week in homes available. Trish, what do those numbers look like?
So single family homes, there's 4,627 homes on the market. That inventory is dropping, and we're starting to see results of it. When we're out shopping, we're making offers. We're seeing less flexibility from the sellers. We're seeing homes selling quicker. We're seeing just everything's going quicker. The days on the market, especially in those entry-level homes, those first-time buyer homes. We're seeing a lot of demand there again, and our close numbers spiked.
They spiked. Okay, so it looks like nothing came on the market. We're under the 5,000 mark of homes available, but we have sold almost 900 homes, 859 homes sold, which is such a spike in our home sales. And it's just showing, because it felt like, tell me in the last 10 days did not feel like a quick shift for you.
Yes.
Right, and it shows in the numbers because we're seeing houses moving faster. We are seeing less concessions from sellers and even builders. They're pulling in the reins.
Yeah. I had one of my listings that it had very little showings over a few weeks, and then boom, one day we had like almost 20 showings scheduled for one day. And I was like, whoa, like these people just all decided today's the day to start shopping again.
Today's the day.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird how it happens. It's like I want to know where the consumers are getting these memos, like the scripts that you hear from every single buyer and seller
wait for the market to crash.
Repeat them over and over again, and then now it's the time to shop. It's like everyone just
decides. Trish. We're giving them the script. We are telling them what is happening in the market, and then it happens so fast in Vegas, though.
It's like it all happens on the same day. It's really weird. Like they just got the memo. It says today's the day. Go do it. So it's different.
Astrology. Jupiter moves into something, and then the whole world goes, oh, we have abundance. Let's go shopping.
I guess so. Whatever it is, it works. Price reductions down to $695. We've seen those numbers in the thousands for month over month, and they are going down too. So we're starting to see our market get healthy again, which is great. I'm very happy about it.
We mean competitive.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't get too competitive.
Yeah, well, these numbers are indicating that it is going to be.
Yeah.
We're selling more each week than they're coming on the market. Looks like people aren't afraid of the interest rates anymore. They've sort of wrapped their head around 5, 6, 7%, depending upon where they fall, 15 or 30-year fixed. So, the world is up and moving again. Yay, spring.
Yeah.
So, Mark, let me ask you a question. Is that what you're seeing in rental? Tell us a little bit about the rental numbers.
It's a little bit different. Normal market for us is 6,000 total on the market. That's condos, townhouses, anything you get on the MLS. The total market right now, with everything, condos, townhouses, houses, single-family homes, 3,229 is on the market right now. Now, if you break that a little bit further, single-family homes is 2,102 on the market. And here's something that's interesting, at least to me, is that ones that'll accept pets, 1,243. So it pays to take a pet.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, tell me, Mark, do you see a spike now with it being tax season? A lot of people are getting their tax returns. I've always felt like there was more activity and like people looking to change rentals and everything in that period of time because they have their deposit money, I guess.
Well, the way I've always seen the market is the closer you get to Christmas, the more the market slows down. The further you get away, the closer you get to summer, the more the market heats up. So in March to June, July is always the strongest month. So we're getting back into the strength of the rental market when people are really looking for rental properties. And we saw it at the end of February, and it's happening now. Now, generally in a rental market, people, they give notice to move around the 1st. Okay, so the first week, not real active. Second week, to get real active. Third week, we're afraid we're going to be on the curb, so we need to get a place now. So that's kind of the way the rental market works.
Yeah, it does seem like there. Sometimes people will call me and they say, "Oh, I have to get out of my rental. I'm thinking of buying, and I have 30 days." And I'm like, it's kind of tight. So we should plan this ahead, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about here. I did see you also have homes with pools on the market. Now that's something I don't see. I mean, I guess it looks like you have a lot, but I don't. Is that something that's real common in rental properties?
Not real common, no. And across the valleys, there's only 386 houses that have pools on them. So it's always a demand to, especially in certain areas, your hot areas, Summerland, Green Valley, all those. A lot of people want to have pools, so they'll rent for more.
Yeah, for sure. It's more liability, I'm sure, for the property manager, which is why we don't see a whole lot of those often.
Well, not only does liability, but also more cost for the owners because now you have pool pumps break, heaters break, more expenses. You have to replace the water, the acid bath, all those things that you have to do. So is it better to rent a house without a pool? Absolutely. Okay, but there is a demand for properties that have pools.
Yeah, I could see that.
And the more the weather heats up, the more that demand becomes.
Even with sales, when it's 120 outside, you walk in to show a house with a pool, buyers are like, yes, write the offer
take
now.
This one.
This is the one. I don't care what the inside looks like. This looks good.
We don't have that.
Water sells. Water sells.
Water does sell, for sure, especially here. I don't know if 120 is going to come this year, though, because it is cold outside still.
We have those powder sugar dusted mountains today, and they are beautiful. They'll only be here for a short time, so get out there and enjoy them.
I don't know. I don't remember Vegas ever being this cold this month, but I don't know. Something's going on.
Never seen this much snow. I've been here since '83. I don't ever remember seeing this much snow.
Yeah. And this much cold. It's like usually warming up by now. I'm still getting my jacket out every morning. Like, what's going on here?
We got like 3 days of 40 degrees. This is called spring in places like Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota.
40s is usually really, really cold, so getting down into the 30s is like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it. I don't know.
Well, I am enjoying this week of winter.
Yeah, well, good. Good.
You're like, good. You're
Hope
the only one. The rest of the valley hates it.
I'm ready to get in that pool. So this needs to warm up here. So, anyways, let's. One thing about like a home with a pool, having homes that are rentals that have pools that allow pets. There's restrictions. You're restricted on the kind of pets you can have. You're restricted on a lot of things when you're going into a rental. Where when you're buying your own home, you do what you want. That's definitely one of the benefits that people can have of home ownership. Now, you work with a lot of property managers, Mark. The wealth that, a lot of property managers, a lot of landlords. You're the property manager. The wealth that people can build off of owning homes and renting out. I mean, is substantial. I mean, it's really.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about that and what benefits it is for the landlord, where it's a negative for the tenant, of course.
Well, the benefit is you have someone else that's paying down your debt. Okay, so I mean, if you're living in the house, if you're living in a house now and you go to work, you get that cup of coffee to go pay the biggest expense you have, which is your mortgage. As soon as you turn that into a rental property, now you have a tenant that's going to do that. So basically, you have two mortgage debts that are being paid off. You're paying one, and the tenant's paying the other. And here's how the long-term benefit. We raised our kids in a house, and it's over 20 years old. It's built in 1999. Well, right now, that house pays almost, not only pays for itself, but also my new house, okay? And I only pay maybe about $600-700 a month on the new house. And way rents have been going up, you can see in a few years that basically it'll be free and clear because the old house is paying for both mortgages. Isn't that nice?
So think about it this way, just to put it in very easy to digest terms. Just imagine somebody else paying your mortgage plus paying into your investment every month. Just that. That's what.
And there's more.
And there's more.
But wait, there's more.
Because you have
Tax
a little
advantages.
thing called tax advantages and equity.
Yes.
But let's talk about tax advantages. Like tax advantages of owning a rental, of having a rental, you get depreciated every year.
And you always want to see a good tax person because none of us have any tax experience. It's out of our area of expertise. However, you as a property owner, you do get some very good tax advantages. You got depreciation. You can write off my fee, the HOAs, and you have some good write-offs there. So,
Repairs, maintenance. A lot of times people are like, oh, I don't want to be a landlord because I don't want to have to deal with all the expenses of repairs and maintenance and everything. But really, you get to write those off at the end of the year. You get it pretty much returned. So,
sure.
In most cases, yeah.
Yeah, and well, I just had I had to pay $6,500 for a brand new AC, but however, I'm hardly paying. I'm paying only $600 on a $1,700 a month mortgage on my new house. So I'm glad to do that. And eventually, as we go along, like I said, the old house will pay for the new house completely. So that's really nice. That's having a free and clear. Basically having your mortgages free and clear. Plus the fact that what it does for your credit rating as well. So all those things really, really help out.
Absolutely.
And then you know what you have to do next?
What?
Gotta go get another one.
Go get another one.
Another one.
And that's one of the things that it just became like an aha to me, I guess, really just a few years ago, which now is like our mission in life. My husband and I are really like aggressively working towards these plans. Is paying off, having a mortgage on one rental, but paying that off, and the rent that's coming from that will pay the mortgage on the next rental that you buy, and then working hard to pay that off, and that mortgage will pay the next, and it's just, and they're building equity, and it's amazing how beneficial the whole situation is. Like if you could sit down and show someone the blueprint of those numbers and how it works, it is so beneficial in the long run.
Right, and that's one thing that's always so disheartening is people, especially first-time home buyers, they don't realize the ability that these properties can have as they accumulate and they take care of themselves, and what that appreciation actually transitions to into money. So can I take a minute and talk about some?
Yes,
okay,
please.
Okay, so, well, because this is something I try and convey when I have renters who are like, oh, I think we're going to rent for another year or another year or another year. But what does that another year actually cost you, right? So let's take a $500,000 home, right? So to purchase it, what those numbers look like over a 5-year period, and then we'll take a rent, say, what do you think, Mark? A 3-4 bedroom in the valley, 2 bath, we're looking at $2,000, $2,500 a month?
Yeah, somewhere in there, depending on the area. Yeah.
Okay, great. So if we take $2,500 a month over 3 years or 5 years, let's do 5 years.
5 years.
It's going to be $150,000 that you, as a renter over a 5-year lease, are paying out to this landlord, right? So
No return.
What do you get from that?
Nothing.
Nothing, right? You
Well,
don't
a place
get
to stay every month. But.
Yeah. Okay. And there are instances where you have to rent, right? Some people are coming out of a divorce. They're saving up for a down payment. They're fixing credit. There's a whole myriad of reasons people rent. But if you're
many people that are moving from out of state here want to get to know the area first before they commit to buying.
Or the flexibility. They're only coming to Vegas for a year or two, and they don't want to be stuck here. But if you did get that house for $500,000, right? Let's say a down payment of 5%, so $2,500. The loan amount $475,000.
$25,000.
Let's $25,000. What did I say?
2,500.
Yeah.
I like, sign me up.
My bad. Everybody's getting a house this week for $2,500. No,
Hey,
my
someone's
bad.
paying attention here.
$25,000. Good job. But Mark, where were you to correct me? Sometimes I just get away from myself. Okay, good job. Let's do a 6.5% interest rate because we're playing in that 6.5 to 7.5% right now, right? So over 5 years, that loan let's do a 3% appreciation, which is really, really low for the valley because our average
lower than we've been seeing.
Yeah, right. That's lower than what we've been seeing in the valley. So an equity in 5 years is $135,000. That's how much your house has gone up, and somebody else or you have been paying that. That is so much better than being a renter and spending $150,000 and getting nothing, or buying your own home, spending that to $2,500 a month, let's say, on mortgage, and then getting $135,000 appreciation in 5 years.
Yep. So let's be frank here. You have to pay every month for somewhere to live.
Yeah, you got to live somewhere.
No matter what.
I say it all the time.
You're paying that. Just who are you paying it to? And you can also turn that $25,000 into potentially what did you say?
$135,000.
$135,000. So that $25,000 could have sat in your bank. How much money was it going to make you?
Right.
Not much, because they don't pay much for interest. But instead, that money can make you a substantial amount back. So
right, it's like a forced savings account.
It is a forced savings account. Now let's also talk that is that's a great scenario of owning a home and building wealth for yourself, for your future. But what about when you're ready to start going forward into investing and turning that home into a rental, and you don't have maybe you don't have the 25% down to put down to buy an investment property or something like that?
You could get a HELOC. You got a house. It's forced savings.
Yes, and there's other options as well, such as turning your primary residence into your rental property, correct?
Right.
Yep.
When you're moving up, so if you bought a smaller house, say 1,100 square feet, 3-bedroom or 2-bedroom, and now you need a bigger house because the family's growing, then the lender can use that and still get a 3.5% down payment.
Yeah.
So and so what you have is you're leveraging wealth. So if that house that you originally bought at $300,000, but you only put 3% down, you're leveraging that $300,000. So if you keep it for 30 years, eventually that's going to be paid off, and that becomes yours, whether it goes up or not. We know it's going to go up, but just pretend for a minute that it doesn't, and the tenant pays that down for you. You got at least that.
Yeah.
Right. You have at least that.
Yeah. And then you can go and you can, and this is so important for people to understand. A lot of times when they're buying, especially like younger people, they're buying their first home and it's not perfect. How many people do you see that are getting into their first home? It's not perfect. And it's not everything, it's not their dream home in the beginning. Sometimes it's a condo.
Well, it very
it's a townhouse,
rarely is your dream home the first or second time.
Yeah, a very small house or something like that. That's where you can take that and turn that home into your investment property and move up into another home later on down the line once you've built some more wealth with it.
And those make great rental properties, is those starter homes or starter properties, because people need a place to start, and there's a bigger demand on those than any other house.
Yeah, those are the majority of those numbers you were talking about. Just your 3 2s.
And a lot of times what I see too is over time, if you look 5 years ago, what mortgage payments were, even though at that time they felt like they were high when people were like, oh, it feels like it's a high payment.
Well, in 5 years it's going to feel even higher.
You look back and you say, oh my gosh, I wish I had that payment back then. But now when you have that as a rental, that allows you to make income on it. So that's usually the way that the scenario and the numbers work out, right?
Yeah. And all these are very doable. The average person can go do this.
Anybody can do this.
Yeah.
So being a property manager and you have your, you deal with landlords and people that own these rental properties. Are they all rich people or wealthy people, or are they just regular
folks that go to work just like the rest of us?
Yeah, and that's one thing I see too from my end. A lot of times people that are purchasing rental properties and investment properties, they're not what you would think are going to be the people that are out there owning these. It's just regular people that have jobs, that work every day just like we do. They just understand that formula and how important that is in building their future wealth.
Mm-hmm. And one of the areas where I see some of it, they go the wrong direction is they say, well, we're going to do our own work on our car and our own work on our house, and we're going to manage our own house.
Yeah.
Well, if you're successful and you get to where you have a rental property, then continue to do what you've done to where you got to that success, so you can get to the second one and get other people, let other people do the car maintenance, do the house maintenance, and manage the property, because you're really not saving anything, and usually the mistake most people are going to make will pay for my fee for at least a year, some cases many times.
Yeah, and everybody has the same amount of hours in every day.
Yeah.
And there's only so much you can do in every day. So you really have to get to a point where you have to leverage some of those things out to a professional, and that allows you more time to make more money, to be more productive. Mm-hmm. And knowing you're aware of so many things that are in that could happen, things that could cause liability, mistakes that owners can make when they're renting out a property that they just don't know any better. Even questions on the application that shouldn't be there, things like that. You're aware of things that will protect them and save them money in the future.
And one of the areas to do that is the typical phone call around rent time, okay, the first, okay? You get these calls, especially the self-managers, Mr. Landlord, and it doesn't get any better than that. It's a sad story. The car broke down. We've gotten a major accident. The dog needs braces. It goes on and on and on.
The dog needs braces.
So with a property manager, we approach it differently. No, we have to collect the rent. We work for the owner, and so sorry those things happen, but we still got to collect the rent. And we have a new addendum for a late rent policy. So we're telling them up front, here's the policy. So it works like this. Rent's got to be on the 1st. You have a 3-day grace period by the Nevada legislature. So midnight on the 3rd. After that, you get 5% late charge. We're going to hit you $125 because we're going to send you a notice out. And this is going to negatively affect your credit, because a lot of us are using systems where they're paying rent online, and those are reported on your credit bureaus. So it's an advantage to your realtors, because it brings their credit up if they pay on time. If they're not paying on time, then it's going to go the opposite direction. So it hurts them, and we're telling them up front, this is what happens. So we're the priority, not the car payment, not some of these other things. And that's what they do is, if they're a little bit behind, they pay everybody else and make the landlord the last one to give us the excuses. So we're turning that around. So the self-manager can't do that, because they get caught up in the stories and they feel bad and all that kind of stuff. Where we're working for the owner, we're in a different position.
Right. And there's another thing that I wanted to touch on, besides that and the importance of paying your rent on time and everything like that, that kind of leads into another subject that I think is very important awareness for people out there in rentals that want to eventually buy, or even if you ever want to leave a rental. This happens. This happens all the time, and it is so absurd to me how people don't expect that it's going to happen or anticipate it's going to happen. But you've been in a rental 20 years, and the owner decides to sell the house. Maybe the owner died, the kids took it over, they decide to sell the house. You can't expect to stay in your rental forever. It's very rare that happens, and unfortunately, by law, they only have to give you 30 days notice, no matter how long you've been there.
Right.
Either party can give the other party a 30-day notice. Now, some people say it wrong. They say it's a no-cause eviction. Well, that's incorrect. It's a 30-day notice that either party can give the other party. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that that's sort of an illusion. You get comfortable in your rental and you get secure. And it's a false sense of security because at any time, things can change.
You start feeling like it's your home because you've been there for so long. And it's very shocking when they tell you you have to go. I can't imagine that. Like someone telling pack up and leave like you're settled.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's jarring when it happens. And then another thing is you don't have that security. When you have a mortgage, you know what your mortgage is going to be. Every time that lease is being renewed, that landlord has the opportunity to change the terms of that lease. Am I right, Mark?
Yeah, and let's just take it to a different level. A lot of times when people, it's a big step for them to go buy a house because they think that, oh my God, I could lose the house. Well, let's talk about that. If you're renting a house and you don't pay on the first, then by the fourth, we can send a notice out. It's a 7-day notice. And then if they don't pay the rent, then we send a 24, 36-hour notice. Once the judge signs that, they post on the door, and the next day constable comes and locks them out. They're done. They're out of the house.
They're out.
Now, let's look at, say, things happen in life. People lose jobs, things, they don't have the money to pay the mortgage. Well, that's a different story. 'Cause
Totally.
you have a 15-day grace period.
Yep.
And then if you are late, okay, you could probably go a couple months before they do anything. And then once they put you on foreclosure, you got 4 months.
Yeah.
So you have plenty of time to try to work something out, get it refinance, go borrow from friends and family so you can get caught back up again.
Yeah.
It's far better shape than on the rental side.
And as a
Absolutely.
realtor, I have helped many people, many scenarios where they were in notice of default. They got the notice of foreclosure, and we were able to sell the house and put money in the seller's pocket from the sale of the house before the house got foreclosed,
And if
which
you
is
do it-
also an option.
Right. And if
Yeah.
you do it before that foreclosure, your credit's saved.
Yes, absolutely. So you're definitely much better. And then speaking on credit, let's talk about credit for a bit. If you break a lease on a rental, good luck to you, because these days, even as little as 5 or 10 years ago, you could go and do there was rentals, people renting their properties on Craigslist, all these different things. It was
Right.
kind of easy to find a self-managed rental. With all the internet fraud, wire fraud, all these scams out there everywhere, that's almost impossible. Everybody knows they need to hire a professional. It's rare that you ever come across that. And almost every property manager is going to use software that's going to run your history, where all of those evictions, late payments, bad rental history is going to show, and you're going to have some serious trouble getting into another rental. And I see that so much, and there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
The credit score is under 500. And I have people tell me, well, what do you do? How do I find somewhere to live? I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't put you in this position.
Yeah,
I'm
like
sorry.
I don't know if someone knows solutions for that, because the only thing I can tell people is at that point, you have to go to an apartment that does second chance rentals.
Right.
Like that's the only option I have out there, because I don't know any property managers that will accept that criteria. Right?
That's true. Totally true.
That is on, and people do not think about that when they're walking away from a rental, or when they're not paying their rent, or when they're not doing that. And those are all still very important things. And there's people that I've seen that were able to purchase a home but couldn't rent a home because of prior evictions.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, it's
Because evictions
crazy.
have nothing to do on a mortgage, but it has everything to do on a rental property.
Yeah.
And here's another thing too, is you don't have to be evicted. If you can't pay the rent, then okay, turn the keys in.
Yeah.
Okay, even if you can't get your stuff out, turn the keys in, because the landlord by law has to give you 30 days to get your stuff out of the house, okay? Otherwise, what they'll have to do is they'll have to store it for 30 days, and no landlord wants to go do that.
Right.
So they'll work with you to get your stuff out of the house, but if you turn the keys in, you are not evicted. So it doesn't show up on your credit that you've been evicted. Okay.
Yes.
And when I do a landlord reference, all I'm going to see is that, yeah, they started an eviction, but they didn't get evicted. So that's good. That happens. Okay. So that's okay. We understand that. But if you've been evicted, we look at it as you had every chance to straighten this out, and you didn't do it, and you got evicted. They won't touch you. It's just like if you buy a car and you let it get repo. car lenders are not going to loan you for another car. Landlords are not going to trust you again to rent another house with that eviction on there.
So when you touched on credit, Mark, tell me, what is the credit score that as a property manager you're looking for?
Well, it varies from property manager to property manager. I use what we used at Keller Williams, was a minimum 600 FICO score, 3 times the rent for an income, and good rental history. Okay. So now
no felonies, no evictions.
No evictions. Felonies, you have criminal records. You have to be a little careful. You just can't flat out turn them down anymore. Fair Housing wants you to do it on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
If it's someone robbing banks, yeah, you don't want that one.
No.
Drugs and things like that. But there's cases
Running a
where
meth house in your rental, bad idea.
yeah, exactly. But we've had a case where a guy was involved in a robbery, but he was more of an accessory. The bad guy did some prison. This guy did a little bit of prison time, but got out. And when I met him, he had a family, had kids. They were in a BMW. He was working. They'd already reestablished. Okay, but he had this record. We're going to turn him down for that. He was actually one of my better tenants. So it has to be on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, he changed his life around, and that can happen with anybody. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So
life's a roller coaster ride.
Right.
Yeah.
Bad things happen. You go up and you go down.
Right.
Well, it can be a fair housing issue, and you don't want to deal with fair housing because the fines are huge, and you're guilty before you can prove yourself innocent with fair housing. So you want to steer clear from that. And fair housing is saying that this is the way they want you to do it now.
Case by case.
Mm-hmm.
Case by case. Yeah. So it's very challenging. It's very important. As with anything, watch your credit. Make sure that you guys are taking care of that, because we were in a time where everything was not digital and everything was not online, but now everything's reported. People can see the history of everything.
You can even self-report your credit. You can report things like Netflix and whatever yourself.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. When some of the lenders recommend that you self-report when you're getting ready to purchase a house. Because when you're getting ready to build your credit or you want to maintain your credit, making on-time payments is key.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And if you end up with some collections, it's not the end of the world. There's easy ways to get built up. You have to understand what a collection is. If they get the money, it's found money. Okay, it's like walking down the sidewalk and you see a $20 bill. It's the same thing.
That's my favorite. I love found money.
Yeah. So what I mean by that is, if you have a collection, reach out to the creditor and work a deal out. And if you get someone that's snotty and say, no, you owe me the money, okay, fine. Give me the address, and you send them $5 or $10 a month. After 2-3 months, this costs them more money to process that little payment, because there's nothing says you have to do a certain amount of payment. You can come up with anything you want. Okay. Then after 3-4 months, you write them a letter, and you first of all you give them your another $10 check, and then you write a bigger check of what you're offering them. Okay, which should be half off of what you owed. And you say, by signing this check, you're agreeing that discounts paid in full.
Oh, so you actually put the check in the mail. That is good.
And you write that also on the back of the check. So when they sign it, they're agreeing to this deal. Okay, and then you can send that to the credit bureaus, and they can take it off your credit, and you paid half.
Wow.
And it's gone away.
That is great. I never heard that scenario before, and that is very good information.
Well, I've done that, and it works really, really well, especially with medical. And you got to remember the doc needs to be paid, but it doesn't mean that you have to pay the full price. Negotiate, and get something you can afford to do.
And medical bills are no longer taken into account on mortgages. I seen a headline about that recently.
Yep, I've seen that too. I've talked to a few lenders about that. They're like, oh, medical, we're not worried about.
Yeah, they can't take it into account when they're doing mortgage approvals or debt to income or anything there.
In the prop management business, we've done that for quite a few years.
Oh, really?
We overlooked
okay.
that, yeah.
All right, yeah, because we all know that, like at a hospital, they'll charge you $600 for an Advil. So it's ridiculous what they do.
Now, you do have to understand that it's still important to pay the doc, because even though they don't look at that, it still lowers your credit score.
Right. Absolutely.
So in that case, let's say, for instance, brings them down to a 590, I can still take them, but with a higher deposit.
Yeah.
So had they got that off, then that met our criteria, and then we can't do a higher deposit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But once you start, you said earlier that you take 3 times the rent and deposit. Is that what you said?
No. It's we look at the income 3 times the
Oh, 3
rent.
times the rent.
Their income needs to be 3 times the amount of the rent.
Because we've had renters that we've had to put in housing for a year while homes were being built or whatever, and if they had any issues, they were buying, so they were fine, but their family and friends were like, oh, we're going to get a rental too, blah, blah, blah. And they had bad credit and they wanted like 4 times the amount of rent in deposits. I'm like, for that, you could practically buy a house.
Well, 4 times would actually be illegal in the state of Nevada. The state of
Really?
Nevada says you can only do 3 times the rent. Okay, and if that's a self-manager, it's back to the case they don't know what they don't know, and they're violating the Nevada law. So
I should
if they
tell
were put in front of a judge, that wouldn't go down so well.
Yeah. All right. That's good to know.
Because judges expect you, whether you're a property manager or not, they expect you to know the law. So being a self-manager doesn't get you out of following the law.
Right.
Yeah. And you can only, as a self-manager, have, 5 properties that you can manage on your own before you, or is it?
That's if you have a real estate license, you're allowed to manage up to 5 properties on your own without
Yeah.
having a property management license.
Okay, I don't do any property management. Hey, I'm here for the education, kids. What do you got?
Okay.
Well, for
Yeah.
For any realtors that are listening, though, that doesn't get you out of some of the problems that property management comes along, because you're considered more knowledgeable, and so you could be on the firing line of lawsuits or with the Nevada Real Estate Division. So I would still recommend that. I see a lot of them, they do it themselves, but they don't know all the pitfalls, and because in the property management field, there's a lot of landmines. Okay?
Yeah.
And,
No, I don't take that liability. I buy houses with my investors and then I hand them over to property management. Here you go.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah, and they're well worth it because it's even though you're paying something, if you make that mistake, you're paying for a fee for a year anyways, and you didn't get the service. And here's a good example. I've seen this one. This one drove me crazy. Okay, I go to interview this owner, and the owner says, well, he had a tenant there, and he told the tenant that, well, it's when the numbers were lower, it's $1,200 a month with a property manager, and it's $1,100 without a property manager. Okay, so you know which way the tenant went. Well, I'll go without the property manager. I'll just go through you. Now, what's the problem with that scenario?
No protection.
Yeah, the owner.
For the same amount of money, he's got to do all the work.
Yeah.
That's like going to the shop and paying $800 to get your brakes done, and now you're going to go do your own brakes.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, why would you? That makes no sense whatsoever.
All right. So if those people don't want to manage their own property and they'd like you to do that for them, Mark, how did they get a hold of you?
Well, my cell number is 702-278-4781. And you can call me anytime. I pick it up all the time. If I don't, I'll call you right back.
All right.
Okay?
Yep.
And there's no obligation, and we do have guarantees. So if you do end up being unsatisfied, you can get out of the contract, actually. So
Nice.
I want my owners to be happy with what we do, and those that are unhappy, then I don't want to lock them to something that they're unhappy with.
Fair enough.
That's pretty awesome, and I've always heard great feedback about Mark. So
Same.
I would highly recommend that you do call Mark to manage that property for you. And if you need to reach me, I can be reached at 702-308-2878. I can help you find that rental property for Mark to manage. So we could get shopping, or even have a conversation about how you can start building your future wealth through real estate.
Yeah,
and Tiana?
leveraging that. Same. If you need any help or you have any questions on what it looks like to actually get into a property for yourself, rent it down the road. If you need to just pick up a rental property, you can get me at 702-379-9948. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody that's out there that's supporting us and tunes in each week and to find out what information we have, we really appreciate you. So thank you so much. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. So that way you get notified each week when we start, and you get all the information, everything real estate here in the Valley.
Yes, absolutely. And next week we'll be bringing you the market update. So we're going to talk about all of those closing numbers from February. Gosh, I almost said January. From
No,
February.
this year is moving right along.
Yes, so we'll be going over how everything closed out the end of February and what we are looking for in March. So
Absolutely, you guys. So thank you so much for joining us. Have a great week. Bye.
thank you. Bye.